NBC7 News at 11 starts now.
Trying to heal in San Bernardino. Tonight, hundreds of people come together remembering the 14 men and women lost in one of the worst mass shootings in Southern California.
I was there and then I left, and I'm watching my coworkers on TV going into buses and walking with their hands held high, and it's just surreal.
We now know 2 of the guns used were bought here in San Diego County. And tonight, the heroes who saved the wounded talk about the chaotic scene they ran into.
You train for it and you know that your job is dealing in reality, but it seemed a little surreal, but yet I did the job that I was supposed to do. People don't call the police because they're having a great day. They call because there's tragedy going on.
And now people are praying for peace, trying to understand why this happened.
Let us draw strength from this event as we work closely together to help one another.
Thanks very much for joining us. We have team coverage on this terrible tragedy, including new information. NBC7's Candace Wen has the latest on the gunman's weapons bought here in San Diego.
Omari Fleming has more about those killed, but we begin with NBC7's Dave Summers, who is in San Bernardino tonight, where the community did just come together to remember the victims. Dave?
The scoreboard over my shoulder tonight read San Bernardino strong, Mark and Catherine, but there was no better illustration of that than the 3,500 people that packed the stands here to share their sorrow and community support. The impact of the mass shooting at the Inland Regional Center is borne on the faces of those that came to mourn, to cry, and remember.
I just found out that one of my coworkers is one of the victims, so it's very difficult.
Valerie Manabusen is a case manager at IRC. She left the building just 2 hours before the massacre and can't help feeling some survivor's guilt.
My friend is dead. My life is not more valuable than his.
They may not share the same close call, but the thousands of people gripping candles in the stands all feel a connection to this tragedy. American Muslim Omar Siddiqui and family members are here to show their civic solidarity.
We are part of San Bernardino, California, United States of America, and we're proud of that.
Angela Duden is holding a third generation of her family that grew up here. She mustered all the courage she could to support her community.
Here, it's scary, you wonder, you're coming together to say that was wrong, and, what if they don't like that?
In a gripping finale, the stadium lights were lowered while the name of each victim was read aloud.
Michael Wetzel.
I don't want them to forget. I want them to be aware.
The next step is perhaps the first step past this tragic page in San Bernardino history. There was a strong police presence here tonight. Many officers wearing their patrol uniforms, also others wearing battle fatigues. The 2-hour vigil, though, went without incident. Reporting live in San Bernardino, I'm Dave Summers, NBC7.
Thanks, Dave.
So we did learn the names of the victims this afternoon, but now tonight we're learning their stories. We're getting a glimpse into their lives, who they are.
NBC7's Omari Fleming continues our coverage you can count on with how family and friends are remembering the loved ones they lost. Omari.
Well, Mark and Catherine, 14 people's lives stolen, many of them at work, a place you'd hope to feel safe. Tonight, a look at the people killed at the Inland Regional Center in San Bernardino and the loved ones they have left behind.
40-year-old Robert Adams, beloved husband and loving father to Savannah. Next week, he was supposed to take the 20-month-old love of his life to Disneyland for her first trip. Unfortunately, that won't happen. Adams, one of the 14 people killed in the massacre at the Inland Regional Center in San Bernardino. They were targeted during a Christmas party. This was the moment Ryan Reyes found out his partner died. He'd held out hope Daniel Kaufman escaped work alive.
I immediately freaked out, tried to call him, text him.
Yvette Velasco among the deceased, her family still processing what they call the nightmare that took the 27-year-old woman from them. Tin Wynn's family and friends talked about her desire to help people and love of family. Michael Wetzel, a father of 6, coached youth soccer. Damian Means, a health worker who played Santa for children. Sierra Claiborne loved protecting people as a health inspector. And Nicholas Telesino's wife, Jennifer, now leaning on her faith and her final memory.
We got an extra hug and a kiss before he left, so I'm just holding on to that.
Among the 21 wounded survivors, San Diego-born Julie Swan Paez. Family members say she sent a group text that read, "Love you guys," was shot. Her son gave us this picture of her healing after surgery at Loma Linda Medical Center.
You know, the other 14 people that have passed away, and those, you know, our hearts are to them and our prayers are to them too.
Carlos Ortiz's son Kevin recovering after being shot 5 times. Ortiz remembering the frantic call from his son.
I got shot, Dad, and he says, I says, where are you at? And he knows, I love you, and he says, oh, it hurts and there's a lot of blood, and that's pretty much hung up.
And want to give you a look at these pictures just in of 2 other victims killed in the shooting. Family members sent us this picture of 46-year-old Harry Bowman. He is a father of 2. And this is Aurora Godoy, another victim in the Inland Regional Center shooting. She is a 26-year-old wife and mother to 2-year-old Alexander. Friends say she was positive, fun, and loving. Now, we've learned that 12 of the 14 people that are deceased were county employees. Omari Fleming, NBC7.
All right, thanks, Omari.
So there are still some deceased victims whose photos have not been released, but we wanted to make sure that they are remembered tonight. 45-year-old Shannon Johnson is from Los Angeles. Bonita Betbadal is 46 years old. She is from Rialto. 60-year-old Isaac Amanios was from Fontana.
Larry Kaufman was a 42-year-old man from Rialto. 27-year-old Sierra Claiborne was from Moreno Valley. And 50-year-old Juan Espinosa was from Highland.
Also tonight we got the chance to hear from that police officer who was the first person to arrive at the scene to see everything that was going on and all of the carnage left by those San Bernardino shooters.
Yeah, his name is Lieutenant Mike Madden. He was raised in San Bernardino. He says he considers it his city, and he normally serves an administrative position. He spends most of his time behind a desk, but yesterday he was on his way to lunch when the call of the shooting went out. During a news conference tonight, he talked about what happened next.
And I could hear it in our dispatcher's voice that this was actually happening. This was a real event, and it was the event that, you know, we have an active shooter, and we have an active shooter going on in our city. As we entered into the conference room, the situation was surreal. It was something that I don't think, again, we prepare for, and they try to, an active shooter, we talk about sensory overload. They just try to throw everything at you to prepare you for dealing with that. What you're seeing, what you're hearing, what you're smelling, and it was all of that and more. It was unspeakable, the carnage that we were seeing, the number of people who were injured and unfortunately already dead, and the pure panic on the face of those individuals that were still in need and needing to be safe. There's so much tragedy that's left behind. There's so many families as we go into these holiday seasons that are now going to have to deal with the tragedy that were left behind by this senseless acts of violence. That's a little tough to deal with.
First you arrived there on the scene. We also wanted to share with you an interview with a man who knew the gunman and actually worked with him.
So this man was in the restroom when the shooting started, and being there may have saved his life.
Somebody asked, well, where's Saeed? Well, I didn't realize he wasn't there at the moment. I left to use the restroom. I hear explosions. The wall's pummeling. I look back at the mirror. I see I'm bloodied on my face. We just secured the restroom so nobody could enter. How? I laid on the floor and put my feet against the door. And I had the other gentleman beside me do the same.
Did the gunman come into the restroom? Did you
He wasn't going to be able to get in. I guess if he did, he'd been over our dead bodies.
And let's take a moment tonight and also talk about that unfortunate big local connection as well. 2 guns used in the San Bernardino attacks were purchased right here in San Diego, according to the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, or ATF.
NBC7's Candace Wynn has this new information and joins us now. Candace?
Well, Mark and Catherine, the ATF says one of the suspected shooters, Saeed Farouk, bought a pistol at a Turner's Outdoorsman store right here in San Diego, and that one of his acquaintances bought a rifle at that same store for him, making some wonder why San Diego, and are there other local connections? The ATF confirms 2 of the 4 firearms used in the San Bernardino mass shooting, a pistol and rifle seen here, were legally purchased at a San Diego Turner Outdoorsman store between 2011 and 2012. San Diego County has 3 locations, one in Kearny Mesa, one in El Cajon, and one in San Marcos. Officials have yet to say at which location suspected shooter Saeed Farouk and an acquaintance bought the firearms. On Thursday, a search of the suspect's Redlands home and car turned up thousands of rounds of ammunition, rifles, pipe bombs, and tools to make IEDs. At the scene, authorities found a rigged pipe bomb that never detonated. A senior law enforcement source told NBC News the suspects, Farouk and his wife, appeared to have tried and failed to modify one of their weapons to be fully automatic. Authorities have yet to release a motive, but say Farouk appeared to have been radicalized and in touch with people in the LA area who've expressed jihadist-oriented views.
As we've said from day one, this is a marathon, not a sprint. It's a tragedy that occurred. We will continue to do everything in our power, bringing all the resources to bear of the federal government to work hand in hand with our state and local partners on this matter. We continue to exploit all the evidence possible. And as I've said from day one, the evidence will lead us to the facts. We will go where the evidence takes us.
Tonight, NBC7 went to all 3 Turner's Outdoorsman store in the county, but the employees said they could not give us information. We contacted their corporate office, and we're still waiting to hear back. Candace Wen, NBC7.
All right, Candace, thanks.
There are just so many developments to this story, and we do have complete coverage of all of them on our NBC7 mobile app.
Still ahead on this extended edition of NBC7 News at 11, authorities investigating a fatal crash on Friars Road. The details our newsroom just got on the other side of the break.
Also in a story you will only see on NBC7, our investigative team speaks to the people who held San Diego police responsible for alleged misconduct, why they say the group that is supposed to keep you safe is actually rigged.
And the extra security in place to keep everyone feeling safe at December nights in Balboa Park. Next on NBC7, coverage you count on.
And we do have a little bit of a cool down on the way, and then wait till you see the temperatures in store for us this weekend. I'll be back with that 7-day forecast after the break.
If you are just joining us tonight, we are learning much more about the mass shooting that left 14 people dead in San Bernardino.
Tonight, thousands gathered to mourn together, pray together at various vigils just hours after learning the names of all of the people who died inside the Inland Regional Center yesterday.
We also learned tonight the ATF says 2 of the guns used were bought here in San Diego County. They say Saeed Farouk bought a pistol at one of the Turner's Outdoorsman stores somewhere here in the county. Someone else bought a rifle at the same store for him. Authorities have not said which Turner's Outdoorsman store quite yet. The San Bernardino shootings and other recent attacks have people everywhere, of course, rethinking their safety, especially at large gatherings. For example, the annual December Nights in Balboa Park this weekend. They're setting up today. The 2-day festival brings more than 350,000 visitors. Organizers told NBC7 today security will be on maximum high alert. At the same time, they have that familiar request. If you see anything, say something. We do have details about the event at NBC7.com, including where you can park and hours.
Just into our newsroom, a bicyclist is dead after being hit by a vehicle around 8:30 tonight. It happened at the intersection of Friars Road and Rio Bonito in Mission Valley. Police tell NBC7 the male bicyclist was pronounced dead at the scene, and the driver also had minor injuries. SDPD says that the driver stayed at the scene of the accident. An investigation is underway.
A man will have another month before he has to enter a plea in the murder of his grandmother and uncle. 29-year-old Raymond Chatterfield is accused of stabbing them at an Otay Mesa mobile home just hours after he was released from jail. Chatterfield was in jail after his grandmother got a restraining order against him and he violated it. According to records obtained by NBC7, he was having delusions that made him dangerous to his grandmother.
Tonight, operations have returned to normal at Oceanside's Police Department headquarters after a suspicious item was left in the lobby. Someone dropped off a trip flare, the device used by military to warn if a perimeter has been breached. The flare did not have a pin in it, so the lobby was shut down before police determined there was, in fact, no danger.
Tonight, former members of the board designed to hold San Diego police accountable for alleged misconduct are speaking exclusively to NBC7 Investigates.
Specifically, they say the board of 23 citizens, which reviews reports of alleged police misconduct, is riddled, they say, with conflicts of interest. It is called the Citizens Review Board on Police Practices. As NBC7 Investigates reporter Maury Payton found out, the former members say the board is rigged against the very citizens it is supposed to protect.
The Citizens Review Board was approved by voters in 1988, a time of tension for the city after a San Diego Police Department officer was killed after a young black man shot him during a fight in Southeast San Diego. The board's designed to independently weigh in on accusations of SDPD officers accused of unprofessional behavior. Tonight, former board members are warning the public the review may not be as independent as people think. Police and protesters went head-to-head at the Occupy San Diego protests in January 2012. Stephanie Jennings was there to show her support for the protesters, but the 50-year-old ended up flat on her back.
They claim that I bumped into him.
Jennings is talking about this officer who she claims pushed her.
He did one of those football shoves where he used all of his body and all of his weight, and he just shoved me on my back, and I just went flying.
Jennings says the officer arrested her and took her to jail, but Jennings and other protesters fought back.
We filed 17 complaints with the Citizens Review Board on behalf of 17 different arrests.
NBC7 Investigates has learned more than 3 years after those complaints were filed, the board has not reviewed a single one. San Diego City Council, though, did approve a $60,000 payment to Jennings to settle her legal claim against SDPD. Proof Jennings says her complaint was credible and deserved the review board's full attention.
If I can't get answers to things, how can somebody who is poor and living in a community where they don't have access to attorneys and things like that ever have a chance for justice?
Lucy Pearson, a former member of the board, says that's a problem for the board designed to review police practices.
I brought up several times that the community does not trust the CRB, and it's, grown time. They don't want to hear that.
Pearson was the board's only Latina. She describes herself as blunt and outspoken, unafraid to ask tough questions at board meetings, and willing to criticize police.
There are still some that shouldn't be police officers, and that's not my opinion. You just have to read the headlines.
She says her outspokenness didn't sit well with the mayor's office, which declined to reappoint her after serving 7 years on the board.
If I see something is wrong, I'll speak up, which has apparently gotten me into trouble.
Bonetta Buell-Wilson served 6 years on the review board and, like Pearson, was not reappointed this year. Buell-Wilson and Pearson claim a lack of transparency and decision-making in secret stifles dissent between members and the city. The Citizens Review Board receives complaints 2 ways. SDPD Internal Affairs launches an investigation, and their findings and recommendations are selectively forwarded to the Citizens Review Board. Or citizens can file complaints, and those are forwarded to SDPD Internal Affairs, then selectively forwarded to the board. The board's leadership is then supposed to determine, without any outside influences, which board members review which cases.
Certain people seem to be getting certain cases.
Buell-Wilson and Pearson say board members who are, quote, pro-police get the more serious cases, depriving the complaining citizens of a fair hearing. NBC7 Investigates submitted a public records request to the city, asking for details about cases reviewed during the past 2 years. The city has not responded to the request.
Everyone that's on the board.
The former board members also say there's a huge conflict of interest in the role the city attorney plays as the board's legal advisor. According to them, the deputy city attorney, Mike Giordino, is compromised because in his position, his office must always protect the city's interest. And that means protecting the police department, siding with officers instead of citizens to insulate the city from possible lawsuits.
That was one of the things that set him off at the last meeting, was because he was asked, if there is a conflict, how is it resolved? and he wouldn't answer.
The deputy city attorney's primary client, obviously, is the city of San Diego.
Attorney Ed McIntyre is an expert in legal ethics and professional responsibility. He agrees with Wilson and Pearson that the city attorney's office has a conflict.
It's clearly in the interest of the city that the officer's conduct be deemed justified. The board should have independent legal advice, free from any dual representation of the interests of the city.
The city declined a request for a non-camera interview. In a statement to NBC7 Investigates, Jerry Braun with the city attorney's office said the city's charter requires their office to be the legal advisor. Braun also declined to talk on camera, but says it's about policy, not ethics, and the attorney is walled off from other issues. Buell, Wilson, and Pearson say something has to change in order to restore the board's credibility.
It's not an independent board. I think it's a facade of a board. It's not what people have, what they voted for, and I don't think that that's what they're getting.
And Maury tells us discussions between internal affairs and the board are confidential, but issues the board is debating and case outcomes are made public. Earlier this year, the board rules changed the role of executive director and city employee Charmaine Mosley. Both Pearson and Buell Wilson say it is another attempt to control the outcome of CRB findings. In an email to NBC7 Investigates, Mosley said there have not been substantive changes to her role, which is to facilitate the work of the board.
Still ahead on NBC7, a hate crime investigation in the North County.
The offensive graffiti that turned up on a college student center.
Also, another big change coming to the iPhone, what some tech reporters think Apple could be planning to do away with.
Rodgers in trouble.
And an incredible finish in the Packers-Lions game. No time on the clock, season on the line, and a Hail Mary. Coming up.
Breaking news tonight out of Golden Hill. There has been a deadly crash on the 94 freeway where it connects with Interstate 5. We have just learned that 2 people have died in this crash. One a motorcyclist, one a pedestrian. This is a live look here at the scene. This is a motorcycle that was involved. Another vehicle, possibly a sedan, may have also been involved. The CHP is trying to sort out all of the details on this, but that's what we know for now out of Golden Hill. 2 people died in this accident.
Just in tonight, we're learning that the former frontman of the band Stone Temple's Pilots and Velvet Revolver has passed away. According to his manager, Scott Whelan died in his sleep in Minnesota. This is video of Whelan when he performed here in San Diego. He was currently on tour with his band, the Wildabouts. He was scheduled to appear at a Minnesota concert before heading to West Coast venues. The cause of death not disclosed. Whelan, a California native, was just 48 years old. Happening now, police are continuing their search for the suspect in a hit-and-run collision. Police tell NBC7 around 4:30 in the morning, a man traveling east in a silver Chrysler van apparently drove up behind a motorist on a scooter, a Vespa, on Balboa Avenue, and then hit the rider. He was thrown onto the hood of the car. The rider was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. The van was found abandoned in the middle of the street.
Your help is needed to figure out who threw 2 small Chihuahua-type dogs out of a car window in Rolando last night. One of those dogs did die. The other is hurt and is missing tonight. A witness says it happened about 5:45 at the intersection of 60th Street and University Avenue. The witness took the surviving dog home, but that dog ran away. That's why it's missing now.
San Diego police are investigating more overdoses from the drug Spice. 6 people were taken to UCSD Medical Center and Scripps Mercy Hospital today. The overdoses were reported at the trolley station near Park and Imperial, 14th and Imperial, and 6th and L. This is video from just last week when 12 people had to be treated for smoking Spice.
The Orange County District Attorney is looking for help in finding any possible victims of a former pastor. 38-year-old Sean Patrick Aday will be arraigned tomorrow. Aday used to be a pastor for Grace Community Church in Lake Forest. He's charged with forcibly raping a female church member and sexually abusing 3 others. Investigators do think there may be more victims out there. Here in the North County, Miracosta College officials are looking for the person who painted racially offensive vandalism on the Oceanside School Student Center. Somebody sprayed the graffiti, which included the N-word, on a window outside the student club room late Sunday night. This is considered a hate crime. Officials said they were able to clean the graffiti from the window by early in the morning.
City of Chicago could soon release video showing another deadly shooting at the hands of police. Activists have been pushing for it since dashcam footage was released recently showing 17-year-old Laquan McDonald being shot 16 times last year. That video sparked big protest in Chicago. In this other case, 25-year-old Ronald Johnson was shot by police 8 days earlier. Today, Mayor Rahm Emanuel said in response to questions releasing the video, quote, "We will do that next week." Just outside of Chicago tonight, police are also searching for a suspect who opened fire at a suburban Walmart. One person was shot in the shoulder, reportedly after some sort of argument. The victim is expected to survive. Witnesses say the suspect took off before police arrived.
Tonight, there's new information about the CHP officer accused of repeatedly punching a woman pinned to the ground along the 10 freeway last July. The LA Times is reporting the district attorney's office said it will not file criminal charges against this officer, Officer Daniel Andrew. You can see he was recorded punching Marlene Pinnock at least 10 times. Despite this video, the district attorney's office said there is insufficient evidence that the officer used unreasonable or excessive force. If you were in Claremont, Pacific Beach, or La Jolla today, you may have noticed a kind of a natural gas odor. SDG investigated and says the smell was nothing to worry about. Crews did not find a gas line break or a leak in any of those areas. San Diego firefighters think it was a natural cloud of odor that sometimes does come from the beach area.
Could Apple be replacing the headphone jack in its development of the new iPhone? Newsweek's Tech and Science section is reporting on the latest rumor that suggests just that. Newsweek says Apple may be planning to do away with the jack to make room for its Lightning connector. They say Apple may also be transitioning to create Lightning headphones that work only with Apple.
NBC7 is giving away a pair of tickets to see the San Diego Chargers.
Yep, tickets are for the December 20th game against the Miami Dolphins. Just go to NBC7's Facebook page to enter the contest, then watch NBC7 News at 11 to see if you won.
So usually we think of little kids often crying, taking photos with Santa.
Yep. Coming up next, the story behind this sweet Santa photo that is making a lot of people smile tonight. Coming up next on NBC7.
And of course, we're going to talk about the weather. It's definitely been a nice week out there. A little bit of a cool down. Wait till you see what's in store for us this weekend. I will be back after the break.
Hey guys, Daisy Ridley is here for Flip Cup Plus. We have Mindy Kaling, music from Gwen Stefani, and Tonight Show hashtag. It's a great show. Do not change your channel.
Okay, so we want to show you more about that sweet Santa story tonight. That's a big hit on social media.
Yeah, it's kind of like a real life story of mommy kissing Santa Claus, sort of. Only Mary and Bill Peterson are both in their 90s. Look at this nice picture. They were taking Christmas photos over the weekend when this happened. A spontaneous and happy moment that was captured. The couple from Minnesota actually found each other in their 70s after their first spouses passed away.
Every year, Bill would ask Mother to marry him, and she would say no.
That was the furthest thing from my mind.
Well, then one day it wasn't. In fact, Mary was the one that ended up asking him instead. Mary's daughter, who you just heard from there, says they have definitely found happiness, and you can see it right in this photo, can't you?
Made Santa blush.
I know.
Santa could be their son. It's like a
love
squirt.
it.
That's a great story.
So cute.
Especially on a week like this.
I know. We all needed a nice moment like
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's
all right,
for sure.
Weather nice and warmer.
Weather's weather's very nice and very warmer, and then it's going to get even warmer. And then we did have a little bit of a cool down today, and that was courtesy of a bit of this low pressure system that moved through the region and did give us just a few clouds, but that's nothing compared to what it did to Northern California. Look at these pictures from the Sierra Nevada range. High winds gave some surfers a chance to hit the water on, get this, Lake Tahoe. I know. Isn't that amazing? So these strong winds from this trough that poured through Northern California, Central California, really did weaken when they reached us. So that just gave us, it is going to give us some higher surf out there, but really it didn't bring us much in the way of anything except for those high level clouds. But boy, that really created some interesting issues for those folks up there on Lake Tahoe. So that was neat, ending up seeing mostly clear skies for us here today. And then as we head in through the overnight hours, again, that is military activity still picking up on the radar. Any clouds or plume of moisture still moving through the stretches, now pulling way down to the south and southeast. But look at the nice bow shape there. That's all part of that trough that moved through from the northwest, pushing down through to the southeast and edging into the eastern edges of San Diego, of California right now. So for tonight, we will stay under mostly clear skies, a few clouds lingering here and there. Your temperatures right around the upper 40s, maybe the mid 40s along the beaches, and maybe as warm as about that 50-degree mark for downtown San Diego, ending up in the mid 40s in places like Escondido and El Cajon. But these reaches to the western edges of the mountains may, in fact, encounter just some patchy fog. Mid 40s in Julian, mid 30s in Pine Valley, upper 40s for you folks in Borrego, low 70s tomorrow, so a slightly cooler day. 55 in Julian, mid 60s in Ramona and Alpine, close to seasonal averages, but a bit above that in the mid and upper 60 range in the North County stretch. A few clouds, but mostly sunny skies tomorrow throughout the region. Temperatures in that upper 60-degree range, very close to 68, 67, 69, just give or take 2 or 3 degrees throughout San Diego into those western edges of the mountains. Here's the 7-day forecast. So a little bit of a cool down for you tomorrow. Not bad at all. You're still in the mid to upper 60s. And keep in mind, it's December. Look at this warm up. High pressure will build in very quickly Saturday through Sunday. Look at the heat for the beaches. You'll be in the mid 70s. The inland areas once again in the 80-degree range. And everybody's going to cool off ever so slightly, still keeping the coast in the mid 70s, low to mid 70s, and the inland valleys in the upper 70s. Mountains and deserts a quick peak for you. Cooler tomorrow in the mid 50s in Julian. By the time you get to midweek, you will be in the mid 60s. The desert's also warming up from the low 70s into the mid and upper 70s. So kind of a mild day for you tomorrow, and get the flip-flops and the sunscreen for the weekend.
In December. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Packers have to be partying.
Wow, a finish that came out of nowhere.
Right.
I mean, this was
What a
unbelievable.
finish. It was
wow, it was crazy. We'll show it to you. That's right. Hail Mary goes green in the NFL. You got to see it to believe it. That's all coming up next in sports.
The NBC7 Sports Desk is sponsored by your San Diego County Nissan dealers.
I thought we were talking to you.
Here we go. We're
Sorry,
coming right
go for
out.
it.
Delmar Dude, Aaron Rodgers involved in some super NFL stuff tonight. You got to see it to believe it, but here's the thing. Even if you see it, you might not believe it. 6 seconds left. Lions lead 23-21. Packers 80 yards away. This game is over. They go with the old chuck it around play. Eventually, the ball gets back to Aaron Rodgers. He's tackled. Game over. But hold on. Penalty on the play. Face mask. But look at the replay. Got mostly shoulder pads. Anyways, 15-yard personal foul. Moves the ball at 15 yards. Packers now 61 yards away. From there, Rodgers can reach the end zone. Zeros on the clock. We're talking Hail Mary. Detroit is Rock City. And Rodgers just rocked Detroit's world. Look at that. Aaron Rodgers to Richard Rodgers. Roger that. It's a miracle in Motown. Packers win it 27-23. One of the wildest, wackiest, most unbelievable endings in NFL history.
It's the greatest feeling. You know, we're blessed to be able to play this game, and it reminds you at times how special this game is. Very fortunate to be a Green Bay Packer, and you live for days like this, to be able to have a chance at the end and have something miraculous happen.
Chargers, Broncos, can you top that? Those two teams play Sunday at the Q. The Mountain West Conference Championship game is Saturday at the Q. San Diego State against Air Force due to an injury. Starting quarterback Maxwell Smith is out. Redshirt freshman Christian Chapman will make his first collegiate start. Does that mean SDSU will rely heavily on an already prominently featured rushing attack?
I don't think we can count on them any more than we already do. I mean, I don't know how many times we carry the ball game, but we count on the offensive line and the running backs for most offense anyway. And then we try to get a big play or two out of the passing game.
College women's b-ball battle for San Diego. Cindy Fisher, USD, off to a 7-0 start against the Aztecs. San Diego State put their crosstown rivals on upset alert. Fourth quarter, Kimberly Ellison's tray sparked an 11-2 Aztec run. She finished with 14, but Mulana Hood poured in a game-high 21 points, and USD wins again. Final score 60-53. Now, the SDSU and USD men's teams play each other Sunday at Petco Park, part of the Bill Walton Festival of Basketball.
Be fun.
Okay,
Terrific.
Right.
Thanks, Todd.
Thanks, Todd.
Coming up on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon.
Actress and now author Mindy Kaling is on. So is actress Daisy Ridley. She's one of the new stars in the Star Wars The Force Awakens. And Gwen Stefani performs tonight, too.
Excellent.
Good show.
Thanks very much for staying up with us. Have a good night. Tomorrow's Friday.
See you then.